Hi, everybody. Can you guys hear us okay? Feel free to type in yes or no. Perfect. Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Vision and Learning, the Connection or rather Disconnect. My name is Barbara Katzmanides-Berg. I'm the Executive Director here at the Center for Visual Management. We are a specialized vision therapy practice located in Tarrytown, New York. Our mission by means of clinical practice, research, and education is to effectively treat the visual, physical, social, emotional, and intellectual integration of each individual patient. When I first began working with the center as an educational psychologist, I quickly realized what was missing from mainstream education. And it's now mine and the center's goal to advocate as well as we can. Every child struggling, every child at risk for repeating a grade, every child struggling with reading or focusing or anxiety should absolutely see a behavioral optometrist. It's now my honor to be working alongside behavioral optometrists and see rehabilitation of visual disorders firsthand. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few items for today's event. This webinar is being recorded and will later be available on our website so that you can view it again in its entirety or share it with family members, friends, teachers, other service providers if you wish. You'll also have the opportunity to submit text questions to today's presenter by typing your questions into the questions pane of the control panel. You can send the questions in at any time during the presentation. We'll collect the questions and address as many of them as possible during the Q&A session at the end. If we run out of time before answering everyone's questions, then we really encourage you to contact us at the office following the presentation. We absolutely appreciate questions and calls, and we're not at all the type of practice that's bothered by questions. I'd like to now introduce our presenter, Dr. Nadia Kalantarova. Dr. Kalantarova is a doctor of behavioral optometry, graduated from SUNY Optometry, where she completed specialized training in pediatric and vision therapy rotations. Her mission is to spread awareness of vision therapy and its role and benefits in the neurorehabilitation of infants and toddlers with visual impairments, school readiness skills for preschoolers, and academic success for students of all ages. She provides comprehensive vision exams with a special interest in binocular vision disorders in pediatrics and children with special needs, as well as head trauma and concussion populations. It's with great pleasure that the Center for Visual Management offers her specialized training and skills, which I'm sure she is eager to share with you now. Dr. Kalantarova, please take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Kalantarova, and thank you for signing on for Learning in Vision, the Connect or Disconnect. Barbara and myself are very passionate about the work we do and greatly appreciate you all taking your time out to help us in our mission of spreading awareness about vision problems and what can be done to remediate these difficulties. I would have to say, for the majority of patients I see at my primary care locations, very rarely do I meet a parent or a patient that has heard of vision therapy, even those that could greatly benefit from it. I want to keep today's talk as relaxed and practical as possible. Please feel free to write all your questions down, send it in to us. We would be happy to answer at the end. So I want to start today by asking everyone to just close their eyes and go back in time to when you were sitting at a desk in your early high school, undergraduate, or graduate education. I want to have parents try to view this from your child's perspective, through your child's eyes, you may say. How many things did you have to do all at once? So while we close our eyes, let's just imagine. Listen to the teacher as you're trying to read what she's writing on the board. Then you're simultaneously scribbling what she is writing onto your paper as she continues to speak. You're worried that you might miss a sentence or two and then be lost. And as we continue to scan the board, trying to connect everything she is saying, and it goes on and on and on. Meanwhile, your neighbor's pencil falls down, or someone is talking to you or asking you to share your notes. And then we hear people walking down the hall, And at the same time, you realize, oh man, it has happened again. You were distracted for a minute or two, and now you have no idea what the teacher is talking about. You remember how chaotic learning new ideas could be? Now imagine it multiplied by 100. If the board is fuzzy, you are seeing double. You are making copying mistakes because of your poor tracking ability. Focusing to the board and back makes you blurry, and you have to take precious seconds to clear the fuzz. Just to name of the few visual problems our children can encounter. Children's vision and learning, according to the American Optometric Association, up to 80% of a child's learning in school is through vision. Research has shown that vision problems are very common, and most of you may be thinking, my child sees perfectly. He's able to spot things miles away before anyone else in the family. He's never complained to me, and the pediatrician checks his vision every year. I'm completely fine in this area. Well, we're not just talking about 20/20 vision here, which is the ability to see clearly straight ahead, usually tested by an eye chart in the pediatrician's office. However, not to say that being able to see clearly straight ahead is not important. Some children and adults, even with proper glasses prescription, cannot see 20/20, what's considered perfect vision. This is called amblyopia or lazy eye. Those that have amblyopia or lazy vision in the family are at greater risk of having it just due to sheer genetics. So please, if it doesn't come up at your next eye exam, please inform your doctor of any family history of amblyopia or lazy vision or of any eye turn. Now, other than 20/20 vision, we're also focusing on visual function, used for reading, school learning, sports, playing in the playground, ability to study for long periods of time, and driving, just to mention a few of the ways we use our eyes in our daily lives. This person has 20/20 vision. In all these photos, the patient has 20/20, whether it be double vision, or reduced peripheral vision, or color deficiency. 20/20 vision is not the whole picture. How does your child really see? So what are we missing? I just want to present a short video put together by the College of Optometrists in Vision Development. And just to give everyone a heads up, there's no speech in the video, it's just background music, so you can just follow along. Let me get back to our presentation. Okay, 1 second, guys. All right, back on track. So what are the visual difficulties related to learning? I'm going to just go through a few of them right here. Tracking, the ability to follow a line of print, to keep your place when you're reading, not having to reread constantly, which is a very common problem I'm finding with a lot of child patients. Focusing, we use a different type of focus for near and far. The lens in our eye actually flexes in order to see up close. This muscle becomes stiffer with time, therefore older adults need reading glasses. But some kids have a very weak flex muscle to begin with, and this results in blurring of letters when reading. The print focuses in and out, and they're unable to keep everything clear after reading for a short period of time. Sometimes it's a matter of asking the right questions during an exam. For example, I'll ask a child, are the words fuzzy when you're reading? And usually get a head shaking no. And then I ask, do the words stay clear when you're reading, or do they zoom in and out like a camera lens? And then occasionally I get a yes. The third one here is eye teaming, the ability to aim your eyes accurately at a target and sustain that position comfortably. When we look far away, our eyes are actually pointing straight. And when we're asked to look at something up close, our eyes turn in. You can easily see this next time you're with someone. Just ask them to look right past your shoulder, and then ask them to look at your finger that you place about anywhere between 12 to 16 inches away from their face. And you'll easily see that their eyes have to turn in to do this. And this is only 3 of the visual skills that are needed to work in sync for an efficient visual function system. So, is your child getting the whole picture? An eye chart cannot possibly tell us all these things. And school screenings, unfortunately, can miss up to 50% of vision problems. That is, 1 out of every 2 children are failed by a school screening. These are the 17 visual skills mentioned before, and we'll get into some of them during this presentation. And I just want to remind everyone, if you have any questions, please send them in. I'm a big believer in there's no simple, no stupid, or irrelevant questions, so don't hesitate to ask. So how do we know our kids are struggling? Vision is a very tricky thing. It's almost impossible to really know how someone else is seeing just by looking at them. Most of our eyes look just like 2 eyeballs and 2 sockets on either side of the face. The blurry person, the blind person, the double vision person would look more or less the same if asked to take a headshot of them. However, behaviors is what differentiates how people actually see. The blurry use glasses, or you'll find them squinting before they get the glasses. The blind use a cane. The double vision person may be covering one eye. The poor tracking person is the one who has to constantly reread to learn. The zoom in, zoom out challenged person is the one who hates copying from the board or navigating a car and following a GPS at the same time. It seems practically impossible. Or the peripherally unaware person is the one that gets lost in the details or always bumping into things and are considered very clumsy. I think we've met a lot of clumsy children. Unfortunately for parents, the majority of kids do not know that they're seeing incorrectly. This is the vision that they were born with. This is the vision they've always had, and they don't know any other way to see. Kids don't usually complain unless something hurts. Every parent knows that you cannot ignore a skinned knee. You're going to hear crying, screaming, and a lot of other things. However, vision is silent until something is picked up through an eye exam, or until the child has developed an adaptive behavior, such as closing one eye to read, or getting headaches, or avoiding to read altogether. By this time, symptoms have gotten so severe that they're impacting quality of life and quality of learning. Usually parents come in when their kids have already begun to struggle in school due to a fixable problem occurring during their visual function development. This is, again, not just what we see, but how our brain collects and can utilize this visual information. Vision problems can often be misdiagnosed as ADHD. Excuse me. The child can't sit still to read, and I wouldn't be able to either if that's what it looked like for me, right over here on the bottom of the screen. Laziness. He or she doesn't want to put effort into reading or understanding what he or she has read. Disruptive behavior or hyperactivity. While all the other kids are reading, copying from the board, this child finds it difficult and gets bored of it, and therefore starts distracting other kids, or is constantly asking a friend what is going on and to copy his notes. Emotional or frustrated. Frustration builds up when kids can't keep up in school, or they use all that they have to stay as good as they can be in school, but quit when they come home. We've heard from multiple parents that my child is different when they're home. At school, the teacher finds it hard to believe when I tell them that the child won't cooperate to do assignments, or that sitting down to read is a challenge because at school, he or she acts so differently, using up everything they have. Those that do complain usually show body posture changes and movement that they've developed to temporarily alleviate what's wrong, such as frequent eye rubbing or blinking, covering one eye, tilting the head to one side, frequent rereading, holding reading materials close to the face. Or it can result in symptoms such as short attention span, avoiding reading and other close activities, frequent headaches, and eye turning in or out, losing place when reading. And this can easily be detected if your child is reading out loud to you. You can see if what they're reading is making sense or they seem to be jumping all over. Difficulty remembering what he or she has read, or double vision. There are also other instances where parents or older children know that they have an eye turn, but they don't connect or attribute the academic difficulties or poor coordination or poor sports skills with vision or the eye turn, when the two are actually very intimately connected, as vision again is our dominant sense. I like to ask parents, does your child like to read? If that's hard to answer, I usually ask, does your child read for pleasure? For example, if there's no book report or assignment due. And does your child like being read to? If a child likes being read to but dislikes reading on their own, it becomes logical that something might be going on with the visual function. Reading consists of multiple visual skills working in synchrony. What does 2020 look like for your child? Oh, sorry guys, 1 second. Great. So how do we know? Children don't complain, and we can't all pick up minor observations that behaviors might not be happening all the time. So assess your child and even yourself with a checklist that can be found at our website, the centerforvisualmanagement.com, or the CISS survey. So this is a survey developed through research, and you can actually score your symptoms on it and compare to the normative age population. And this specifically looks at convergence and sufficiency, which is one of the binocular problems. It's more common and affects about 3 to 5% of the population. And you can also use this score sheet for adults as well, just the scores will be a little bit different. So I hope I haven't lost anyone yet. Again, if you have any questions, please send them in. Okay, so you suspect a problem, or you just want to be thoroughly examined for all these visual skills. You may or may not be sure if something visual is going on. So what's next? Who looks for these struggles? Many times we have patients coming in and they say our pediatrician says everything's fine. The ophthalmologist says everything's fine. Even the local optometrist says that visually everything is fine. So what's the difference? So pediatricians test 20/20 vision at distance only. But when we think about it, half our child's world is up close. What are kids doing nowadays? They're reading, they're doing their homework, they're on their computer, they're on their phones, they're on their iPads. Ophthalmologists test for pathology or eye diseases and best corrected vision. Can the child see 20/20? Very good. And they're great at performing surgery. Optometrists test for ocular pathology, again, eye diseases, and best corrected vision. Some test for portions of binocular vision, but not usually the whole picture, because these workups can take for an hour to 2 hours extra than the average eye exam. Behavioral optometrists or developmental optometrists test for ocular pathology, best corrected vision, but also complete a sensory motor diagnostic component. Are the eyes teaming? Are they working together? Are they tracking? Are they following a line of print? Are they focusing? Are they zooming in and out accurately? Is the system able to sustain all these things for a period of time and for different distances? Then we expand into performance-based testing. We give real-life scenarios in the office. So one of my favorites is, can the child balance on the balance board and look at something visually and listen to something auditory, like TV, for example? Can the child catch a ball Or do they close their eyes the last 2 seconds? Or do they bat the ball away with their hands? Or do they just have a hard time catching the ball? Can the child read out loud for us? Do they lose their place? And we can further test this with software called Visograph that records eye movements while they're reading in real time. And this tests for accuracy, timing, and then it's followed by a list of questions so we can really know how they comprehended. Does your child care for 3D movies? We test for depth perception. We also test for color vision. And some of the jobs that need color vision are jewelers, painters obviously, baggage handlers, police officers, flight pilots. I actually had a patient in my early training who came in and he was just about getting close to completing his training for air marshal. And he needed to pass the color test. And he said he's never had any problems. He's never been told he had any problems. Yet we did multiple color vision tests and multiple times because he was so persistent that he wanted to pass it. Unfortunately, he couldn't. And this just gave him, this was a big shock to him, and it was a very big roadblock for him. And he was just, when we were talking, he told me it would just been easier if I would have known this from the beginning, just so he could guide his goals. So just think about, we like to have things very complete from the beginning. We do a lot of very thorough testing. So what role do behavioral optometrists play? We know that vision is a dominant sense in the human body. Neurophysiologically, humans are sight dominant. 30 to 40% of our cerebral cortex is devoted to vision as compared to 8% for touch and 3% for hearing. We use tools and vision therapy techniques to facilitate the development of a more efficient and complete visual function. Whether you're playing catch-up with your peers, or enhancing visual skills for sports training, or rehabbing a system that has had head trauma, such as a car accident, or a sports-related concussion, enhancing visual function allows patients to meet greater visual and life demands with less effort and less stress. I think we're all big fans of less stress. So what is vision therapy? Vision therapy is a doctor-supervised, non-surgical, and customized program of visual activities designed to correct certain vision problems and/or improve visual skills. Unlike self-directed programs of quote-unquote eye exercises marketed to the public, in-office optometric vision therapy is conducted under the supervision of an optometrist, and it's supported by ongoing evidence-based scientific research, which I want to go a little into now. So I have here 3 articles, or 3 names of articles. Each one is a double-masked, placebo-controlled, multi-center, randomized clinical trial. That might sound like a lot of mumbo-jumbo, but this is considered the gold standard in evidence-based research. So these are very good studies. In 2005, a study called CITT, this stands for Convergence Insufficiency Treatment Trial. And again, I just want to remind parents, convergence insufficiency is your ability, or rather inability, to just aim your eyes inward when you're trying to look at something up close. And the study concluded that vision therapy was more effective than pencil push-ups or placebo vision therapy in reducing symptoms and improving signs of convergence insufficiency, and I'm going to refer to it as CI from now on. And this was done in children ages 9 to 18 years of age. It also mentioned that it was clearly seen that pencil push-ups and placebo vision therapy was not effective in improving either the symptoms or signs associated with CI. A second trial was done to determine if vision therapy could be beneficial if done at home via a computer. So in 2008, it was concluded that a 12-week regime of office-based vision therapy, or VT, with home reinforcement is more effective than a 12-week program of home-based pencil push-ups or home-based computer VT combined with pencil push-ups and improving signs and symptoms. So the third trial I have here looked at the effectiveness of vision therapy for the zoom in and zoom out focusing power and the ability to switch between the two. And again, it was proven very effective in treating signs and symptoms. Parents or whoever's listening, if you'd like copies of these articles, please just send in a little note and we can get them out to you. And again, any questions, please send them in. I hope everyone's able to follow along. So what is vision therapy? After evaluations, vision therapy is usually performed weekly or bi-weekly for 30 to 45 minutes, followed by a 10-minute daily homework exercise. And the exercises are done using prisms, flippers, therapeutic lenses, balance boards, occluders, patches, trampolines, yoga balls. We get very creative and depends on the child, their interests. We really want to keep them engaged. How I usually explain it to parents and patients is that we have a reserve of energy, and those that use this energy efficiently achieve success and achieve it much easier. If a child has to put so much effort into keeping their place or aiming their eyes appropriately or just focusing to clear the letters, less of that reserve can be used for comprehension, critical thinking, visualization of what is being read or said. The biggest point I want to just have you guys take away from here is that you can't be a master, and it's hard to achieve a success when you don't have the basics down. So can you possibly imagine enjoying a story or having a story come to life with your imagination if you're just unable to keep your place? Having to read the same line over and over, I think it kind of kills the picture in my head. So a little bit about us. Who are we? We're the Center for Visual Management, like Barbara brought up before. Our goal is to effectively treat, I'm going to read the mission statement as is because we cannot put it better. Effectively treat the visual, physical, and social-emotional and intellectual integration of each individual. We're not, in my education, and I believe this and I practice with this philosophy, that I'm not treating a pair of eyeballs. We're looking at the whole person, and from this person, the whole family structure and academics. There's a lot that go into it. So we want to always treat and keep everything in our minds. We provide visual management for infants, children, adults, and we ensure that our patients receive the care they need to thrive, whether it's at work or academics. So we strongly believe that decisions children make are shaped by their childhood experiences. And if a child has felt success, they're more likely to make successful decisions. But if a child has constantly been put down or let down or felt failure, they're more likely to make poor decisions in their future, shaping their lives for better or for worse. And after a long history of saying that we're catching these problems, it's great, but unfortunately there's been consequences, and it's a little, we would have wanted to catch it earlier. We've decided to add early intervention into our practice, seeing patients from birth to 3 years old. So if your child's in early intervention now, or you're looking to get them evaluated, if you or your evaluator suspects a vision problem, we're now the first in the county who have incorporated early intervention into our practice. So our goal is to reach and remediate as early as possible. The Center for Visual Management is a little bit about us. We're in Tarrytown, New York. This is our phone number, ours, and email address. So again, please feel free to contact us. So how does it work? So we've given you a lot of information. What do we do now? So phase one, we just like to gather information. Talk to your kids, talk to their teachers, talk to their tutors. I would even say talk to grandparents. I think the best eyes are grandparents' eyes. If the grandmother notices something, it's probably there. I had a patient when I was training, and the mother comes in and says, my child has an eye turn. I haven't noticed it, my husband hasn't noticed it, but my mother has noticed it. And I remember my attendee saying, if the grandmother noticed it, it's there. So if you have any questions, concerns, or just want more information, give us a call. If needed, we'll help you set up an appointment. So phase two, the evaluation. So we're going to perform a comprehensive eye exam and a sensory motor evaluation. This is not just the 20/20 vision like we said before. We also test for binocular vision. So this is when we're looking for any eye turns or misalignments, or the focusing ability, which relates to the child's ability to zoom in and out between the chalkboard and his desk, going back and forth between the two smoothly and simultaneously. The tracking ability, being able to keep your place while you're reading, or do the words swim on the page, or swivel. I'm just going to show you one more picture here. Okay. And spatial organization and orientation. How comfortable and aware is your child in 3D space, or do they get the Alice in Wonderland effect, as I like to say it? And many more things. And then phase 3, after evaluation is complete, we can do a same day, or I like to do a set day conference. So if available, both parents can attend, and at which time we can review the results and make any recommendations and answer any questions that have arisen since the time of the exam. In addition, a report is made available to parents and to anyone else the parents wish to share it with. And of course, no two people are alike. We have a customized approach to every child and adult, depending on interests. Maybe something you guys have heard as of patching for lazy eye. That's a big treatment for amblyopia, and I believe it's a valid treatment, but it's not the only treatment, and it varies individual by individual. Just because your neighbor's son was patched because they had amblyopia doesn't mean it's the right treatment for you, and the timing might be different too. I feel like it's a general understanding, so I just wanted to make it clear. We apply multidisciplinary approach. We're in close communication with your child's teacher, occupational therapist, physical therapist, speech therapist, and any other health professionals. And our location incorporates backgrounds within optometry, education, and psychology. So again, any questions regarding anything I've said so far or anything that's come to mind, please send it in. I want to share some success stories. So we had a beautiful young girl come into our office after the recommendation of her occupational therapist in June. She's 5 years old, entering kindergarten, although her parents were reluctantly considering holding her back 1 year. They previously saw 3 other eye doctors, but heard our examination was a little bit different. So they came in. The child was unable to identify numbers or letters. After an initial evaluation, we found a pretty moderate prescription for close-up was necessary. So in this case, the child was farsighted. We were very surprised that nobody else had given her glasses, but we felt like it was a game changer for her, and we were confident in our findings. So we gave her the glasses, but we also knew that the visual system being inhibited the way it was for as long as it was, vision therapy would be great to help her catch up with her peers, and it has. After 5 months of weekly visits, she is a star patient. She's not only identifying numbers and letters, but is starting to put words together. She's demonstrating much more age-appropriate eye movements, tracking skills required for reading, and visual motor and visual spatial integration. And that's required for activities like dancing, gymnastics, and bike riding. It's all coming together. And we believe and implement multidisciplinary approaches, but parents can and do spend years and thousands of dollars on tutoring and educational services when, unbeknownst to them, there may be a visual or visual perceptual component slowing them down. So I just want everyone to just take that away as well. Another story is about 1.5 years ago. A student, we'll just call her Natasha, was recommended to our office for a complete evaluation by a family friend. Natasha had an eye turn, which mom thought was mild to moderate factor in her child's overall sensory processing disorder. Natasha frequently wore headphones to block out noise. She lacked eye contact, was spatially challenged, meaning she was very clumsy. She stemmed and was somewhat not conversational in her verbal expressions. She read well, but lacked comprehension. What does that mean? Her ability to decode and track was good. However, she was lacking in the ability to just comprehend what she read first time through. She would often have to go back, reread it, and really dissect it to understand what's going on. And then documenting or creatively putting something together in writing about what she's read, forget about it. We did a thorough analysis and implemented vision therapy weekly right away. It took about 3 sessions for mom to report that Natasha was becoming more tolerant to sounds, headaches were gone, and the tightness that once existed in her jaw was also gone. This to us indicates stress is reduced. After approximately 10 sessions, she was able to successfully get stereo vision, so 3D vision. Throughout her weekly sessions, we would scaffold on demand. So we'd ask her to move, breathe, watch, hear, think, and speak simultaneously. And guess what? With Mom's commitment at home, impossible became possible. By her 20th session, Mom would enter our office happier than the week before, and give us the most exciting feedback. From Natasha now being able to sit in a cafeteria with her friends without headphones, to Comic-Con without headphones, and performing in her school play comfortably. Academics, needless to say, also became easier for her. And more recently, about the 26th session, Mom is reporting that Natasha's expressive language abilities is conversational without any prompting. She's officially graduated vision therapy after 29 sessions. And I know that number sounds like a lot, but I want to ask parents to reflect on how considerable these changes are and what is essentially an 8 to 12 month course. So anyone who is further interested in some further reading, I just want to bring up some books to your attention. The one up here in the corner, Fixing My Gaze, was written by Susan Berry. She's a neuroscientist who had undergone vision therapy in her 50s. You may have heard that amblyopia or vision training is only for children, but even in her 50s, she was able to successfully develop 3D vision. The one down here, Red Flags, is written by a primary teacher. 46 years she worked as a teacher, and 15 years she had hands-on experience with the methods that she implemented in her classroom that she talks about in her book. And she writes about how every child can reach their potential through her What I See, What I Do, and What I've Learned guide. This is a great guide for teachers. And the one up here in the middle, Jillian's Story and Dear Jillian, written by Robin Bennett and Jillian Bennett, is a journey of a mother and daughter to their discovery of vision therapy and its life-changing effects. So just some informative links. You can find more information on our website, the centerforvisualmanagement.org. And here you'll find information on vision therapy, binocular vision problems, testimonials by parents, teachers, and other health professionals, in addition to the other links as well. So we are always trying to spread awareness. Our upcoming events will be Visual Spatial Management of Spectrum Disorders, which will be a webinar on November 15th at 1 p.m. So please feel free to join us then. And come and visit us on December 14th. We'll be having an open house. It'll be great to meet parents, educators, any other health professionals who just want to learn a little bit more. And first and foremost, we're always dedicated to spread awareness of the potential benefits of vision therapy. Like I mentioned before, most of the patients that I see in my other primary care locations that would benefit from vision therapy have never heard of it, unfortunately. So vision therapy is helpful for traumatic brain injuries, special needs children, learning disabilities, and even school readiness skills. So if you'd like us to come and speak to your schools, educators, and parents, please contact us. So I'm going to pass it over to Barbara now. Thank you everyone for listening, and again, feel free to type in your questions. Barbara?
Thank you so much, Dr. Kalantarova. That was very informative. Great. Let's see, let's maybe begin answering some of the questions submitted during today's presentation. And as a reminder to all the attendees, you can still submit questions through the questions pane in your attendee control panel. So if you just sort of look halfway down your toolbar there's a questions section. Please feel free to chime in, let us know if you're attending this webinar because you're a parent, if you are a health professional, an educator. We'd love to hear sort of who's in attendance today. And maybe think of some of the patients or students that you see. Think about your children's symptoms, and we're just collecting some questions now.
Okay, so Emma P. asked, my child experiences headaches. How often do you find children complain, and can vision therapy help? I actually find children complain often. Every child I have, I always ask, Do the words swim on the page? Is it clear up close? And do you experience headache or see double vision? And when the child answers yes to headache, sometimes I get a shocked expression from the parents because they say, oh, the child never complained to me. And I just question them further, depending on where the headache is, how often, when they experience the headache associated to which activities. It's always a red flag for me that something binocular might be going on. And most of the time, we can find the answer through vision, and vision therapy can definitely help if it's something binocular. Another question. John B. asked, who should be referred/seen for these exams? In my opinion, everyone. I feel like does everyone need vision therapy? No. Can everyone benefit from vision therapy? An absolute yes. At least once a year, just to rule out anything visual going on. Okay, and then we have Tracy C. asked, how much of a genetic component is there? So for eye turns and amblyopia, they do have strong genetic components. If anybody in your family has it, then I would say definitely go to a developmental or behavioral optometrist to get tested, and bring it, if you're going to go to an optical or anything of a primary care setting, just bring it up to your doctor as well, so they can make the proper referrals if they see necessary. Let me go to some more.
One question coming through that I'm happy to answer myself, if you don't mind, Dr. Kalantarova, is an insurance-related question. So for these types of questions, I encourage you to absolutely call the office, because we do offer a lot of programs. As Dr. Kalantarova mentioned, early intervention is one. Infancy is another. You know, infancy is a complimentary service that's offered for infants that fall between the ages of 6 to 12 months, and they do not have to be under early intervention's umbrella. So there might be red flags, there might not be red flags. It's our belief that every infant should be seen, you know, at that stage, 6 to 12 months. The first recommended eye exam is actually for 1 year old. And many parents don't realize that. You know, they're actually quite shocked when we tell them that. Dr. Kalantarova, when do you feel, in your experience, many of these kids are getting their first exam? At what age?
I think that they're usually just being looked at by the pediatrician, just at distance. And if they can see the 20/40 line, that's usually like an okay for many. And then I have patients coming in 5 years old, probably is one of the youngest. Parents don't usually bring them in earlier, but I would recommend, like Barbara said, much earlier. Different visual skills develop at different times, and if one has not developed properly, the next one cannot develop properly as well, because they build on each other.
Yep. Thank you. There's also Medicaid, Medicare. There's a family wellness program that our office is also rolling out. So again, I just encourage parents to give us a call, and we'll figure out you know, what insurance you have and if we're able to help.
Yeah. So don't hesitate. We'd be happy to answer any questions or just give out information. I know that vision therapy sounds like something foreign to most, and we'd love to just let everyone know about it. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you. Okay, so if there are no other questions, let me just thank Dr. Kalantarova one more time, and thank you everyone else for attending today's webinar, Vision and Learning, the Connection, or rather, Disconnect. If you have any questions, please contact Dr. Kalantarova directly at the email address or the phone number provided to you during the webinar. Once you leave today's webinar, you'll also receive a survey on the presentation, and we'd really appreciate if you guys would complete it and provide your feedback. You'll also receive a follow-up email within like a day or two with a link to view the recording of today's webinar. On behalf of us here at the Center for Visual Management and our presenter, thank you so much for joining in, and Have a great rest of your day.
Bye guys, enjoy your day.